to I want to pet this cat a lot. On second thought, let's not go to Camelot. It's a silly place.
Okay.
All right, Camelot. It's a silly place. Hello, everyone. Joe Lewis here, Battle Rankings Live. We're doing our why the Mighty Python song, and even though that was
inspired by your picture.
yeah, that was it. We're doing a round
I couldn't
table.
use the original recording, of course, so I had to find someone doing a cover of it, and what I found was actually pretty funny.
Yes.
This is for Spectre Sound Unnecessarily Dramatic Metal Parody Cover Contest. It was an entry into a metal parody contest somehow. And this gentleman, Austin Klinger, did this with his band, and I thought it was pretty funny. And there's a bunch of guys running around in armor that's made of beer boxes and stuff. You can find this video on YouTube.
Didn't it have like 60 views or something?
So it's like 121 views.
Oh, yeah, well,
121.
After this, we'll double it.
We'll probably double it. Yeah, it's very cute. These guys did a good job with it. But yeah, a metal parody of Knights of the Round Table.
Well, I'm Joe Lewis. This is Battle Rankings Live. That was my producer, my lovely and talented producer, Ann. Say hi, Ann.
Hi, Ann.
And so the way we got to that was we're doing a roundtable discussion today about the missions that we played in the tournament this past weekend. So what's the ultimate roundtable? Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur, which led us to the to the Holy Grail. And then of course we can't do the original song or something like that because of pesky copyright things. And so we found a one-off, and that's what we're doing. So what we're going to do is let me take care of some housekeeping real quick. And let's go with the tournaments that are coming up. So we had a whole bunch of tournaments last weekend. I was like 4 or 5. We got some stuff building up. Let's see. This weekend. Yep, this weekend. We got the Vault in Delaware that's doing a late war. Got Hard Knocks Games this weekend. It's doing Team Yankee, which sounds like that's probably it for Team Yankee. So if you're looking to squeeze on in, I don't know if they have any room, but I would get down there to Elizabethtown in Kentucky. Then on the 22nd, Family Times Games here in Indianapolis. We're going to do mid-war, change it up a little. Some mid-war action. And then June 12th and the 13th is DICON. So they got Team Yankee on Saturday and Flames of War on Sunday. Then we're going to head back to Station Retro in Huntsville, Alabama. They're going to do some late war on the 19th. And so the 26th and 27th is going to be the Team Yankee Masters. And so that'll be coming up. We'll be announcing that. The Station Retro is a 2-day event, 5 rounds. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got to put that in there. I'll update that. So the 19th, it looks like it's a 2-day, 5-round event. That sounds cool. But back to the Family Time games. We are going to run a side tournament at the same time on Saturday as the Masters, and we're going to do Flames of War because most people who play Team Yankee will probably be in the Masters. So we're going to be doing we'll be doing a side Flames of War tournament. The points stuff will be announced later, but if you have a buddy that's probably going to be in the Team Yankee Masters and you're not, and you want to come on out with them or something like that, guess what? That Saturday we're running a Flames of War tournament, so you got something to do. Good way to kill the time. Play a tournament. I see Tom Gall here just posted that at D6 Games on the 24th. I don't have that listed. Yeah, nope. They're doing Flames of War Mid-War also. Awesome. So we'll get that in there. That's this weekend. Hey, if you're in Minnesota, Minneapolis, go D6, look it up. Rochester. So D6 Games in Rochester. All right, everybody. So that is the schedule. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to bring in my guest for the roundtable. So you could see I'm Sir Joseph the Chase. What?
You chased?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Mama. You know?
Sorry.
Okay. Our first guest, we got a bunch of once again, it's a round table. I'm going to bring in. We're joined by Sir Chris of the Armored Rifles.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
Awesome. Let's bring in Andrew. Who can't count? Well, you'll be seeing that here. Count to 105.
Yep.
And we're going to bring in Sir. What book is that from? Burgess. Gentlemen, thanks for joining. Is there a participate limit to the side tournament? Probably. I'm thinking in that one corner, probably. I think we could do 16 or something like that. So it's a decent.
Probably 16 at the maximum. 12 to 16, somewhere in there.
Yeah, we'll something like that. I won't be playing. I'll be running both tournaments, and a couple other people that are from that area will be in the Team Yankee. So yeah, there's going to be room for that tournament there, Patrick. Okay.
Hey,
Rich Bear says hi. Yeah. Anyway, so let me set this up. So we Able Company in Indianapolis here at Family Time Games. We had a tournament, 105 late war, which seems to be the theme, and we allowed the new missions, the extended missions. So when the time is right. So we had the extended missions, and I made a deal with everyone I played. I said, hey, let's, and everyone was really cool. Let's go. We're only going to play in the new mission. And so I was fortunate to play 3 rounds of the new missions. Most of these guys did too. And we're going to discuss the lessons learned, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we could do better or do different, and discuss how it might change our list building. So let's get to it. I think just remind everybody.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
One thing to note on the way we structured this tournament, maybe for others who are thinking about putting their toe in the water with the extended battle plans, we did announce to the players that if you and your opponent did not want to play an extended battle, because we have a number of new players who, just getting the tournament experience together and the missions that they know can sometimes, be difficult with that. we allowed them to decide to not use the extended battle plans and use the regular matrix, just as we allowed people to re-roll until they got a new mission if both players wanted to play a mission. But it had to be both players agreeing to that.
And you gave extended time.
Yes, and we also did do 2 hour and 45-minute rounds, so that gave people a little extra time to read and understand, try to understand in that first few minutes what the mission was and how it worked.
Yeah, actually, that 15 minutes. I found the 15 minutes was definite. Because we were going back and forth talking about the mission beforehand and stuff, so that no one was surprised. Well, anyway, here's the extended missions plan, and we talked about of course everyone's catching the show, so you guys can remember we talked about this. So we talked about the extended missions and some of the way the matrix worked out. I actually I did an attack, a maneuver, and a defend. In the probably was the best thing from our army, but I played it anyway so I could get the mixture. So I was more interested in what missions I was going to play. I don't know how you guys. I ran recon, German recon, with some Panzer IVs and a couple and 2 Tigers. Oh, by the way, all SS, and I gave the infantry best cards. That's what I ran. It was kind of different for me. Well, how about Chris? What did you run for the tournament?
Well, as my title goes, I ran armored rifles. So I had armored rifles with Sherman 76s and TDs, all competent trained, not the vets. Several units of artillery, partisans, and the only other card I used was the Desert Veterans for the M10s. No air.
No air. Though, actually, all 3 of my opponents had air. Yay. Andrew, what did you run?
Well, I ran SS Recon. Unfortunately, I took I believe it was the Frinsburg card, which gives you a point off on each unit because they go to a 5-up save. But I learned the morning after the tournament that that's an illegal option. So therefore, I DQ'd myself. But anyway, it was three infantry platoons, one of which was a recon platoon. The other 2 were foot Panzer Grenadiers, Stummels, the 250 Stummels, armored mortars. What else did I have? Two recon formation, 2 recon platoon, half-track recon, Tigers, Martyrs, Wesps, all SS.
Okay. And Tom, what did you bring to the dance?
Yeah, I was running the same SS Panzer Grenadier list I've been playing against Ed in our ongoing Minsk campaign, well, now concluded campaign. So it was it was with the 17th SS card, which saved a point per unit, but also gave them a 5+ last stand, which was
I know that one.
Yeah, kind of bit me once or twice, but
that bit me harder.
Yeah, 2 headquarters, 2 platoons with Panzer Faust and Panzer Schrecks at it. Medium mortars, heavy mortars, Pack 40s. That's pretty much the core formation. And then we had for the support recon 250s/259s, and we also had a pack nest, and the final thing for the support was the SS Panthers. There's a unit of 5 of them, 44 points, which was a reserve. And one of the what would have been a formation unit, I took the machine guns, but I put them in MG nest. And I expected with some of these weird scenarios where you get attacked from behind when you're the attacker, and I kind of thought that these machine guns and pack nests could be pretty good, obstacles out there to cover certain areas. And maybe I'll talk more about that as we get into the missions.
Okay. Well, that's funny. We all ran SS. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, other than the armored rifles.
And an SS unit, SS list ended up being the overall winner. Would have been anyways with Andrew, but then the number 2 guy bumped up, and that was William Brown, who ran SS Panzer Grenadiers also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I see Patrick's asking about if anybody ran the classic pack front list, and nobody did. There was no Greyhound lists.
Yeah.
I mean, both William and Tom had pack fronts in them, but they were not the traditional Greyhound setup.
Right. All right. So there we go. So we know what we ran. Let's go into the kind of like just a breakdown of the tournament. So Chris was nice enough to do this. And if you're wondering how it's sorted, it's actually sorted by missions. It's the middle column. Chris, you want to go ahead and describe what we're looking at here?
Sure. You can just see that I list what round they played in. That just helped me when I was putting the list together. You know, who the 2 players were, which you don't have a whole lot of context here because you don't have the forces lists, but the missions that they played, which one was the attacker, and then the outcome, both score, who won, and whether they were the attacker or defender. So that had nothing to do with the attack, maneuver, defend, that kind of attacker, but who was the attacker, who was the defender. Certainly in fair fights, there really wasn't one. So,
right. And the colored cells are actually new missions that were played. So, you know, we could take a look here. Like, so Chris and Tom, you played each other. We'll talk about that later. It looks like Jackson Ernie, he played Encirclement twice as the defender and ended up winning both times. And
His new favorite mission.
yeah, I know. Tom Schnook played Charlie Clay, who I see is in the audience, in Escape, and Charlie ended up winning 7-2, and then he was the attacker. And William, the Gauntlet, William and myself played that, and I'll get into my mission about that. And as the attacker, no, actually, I was the defender in that one. Actually, yeah, against Mark. I was from the sides. Mark started from the middle, and I'll get into that. That was interesting. Andrew, you played in Killing Grounds, which we'll talk about. And also Andrew and Chris, you guys played Outflank. We could talk. We'll talk about that. There's Scouts Out. We'll talk about, and then Spear Point. Great. All right. So a lot of the battles played here. Most of us played in. So let me just see what order I put these things in. Outflanked. Which one of you guys played in Outflanked?
I played Outflanked against Charlie.
Oh, okay.
And I played as well.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. This is at least my game against Charlie. He was running a bunch of Churchills. He had a Churchill list. Because of where the objectives were, I was able to basically be on both objectives by turn 2, and that was because the objectives didn't go hot until 6. He was just trying to push me off for the rest of the game. So, having the spearhead ability was nice. It kind of opened up that last quarter as a deployment area, and I was able to sort of push up on sort of the corner of the L a little bit because I couldn't come within 16 inches of his deployment area. So I was able to move forward a little bit, but not a phenomenal amount. But mostly the fact that I can move laterally and then hit the objective, which I placed basically as far to the lower left as possible. I was able to get a lot of units in position where they could basically be on the objective. Yep, right there.
Okay.
And the other objective was in the other corner, so.
Like go over in here?
Well, closer to my deployment.
Okay. Here.
So basically, I just parked in the 2 corners.
Parked in the 2 corners. The attacker goes first in this one, and he had an ambush. Okay. What did you take attack and he take mobile or something?
Yes.
Okay. That's how you ended up with this.
I wanted to make sure I didn't start with 12 Churchills coming straight at me.
Yes.
And, I remember Charlie saying he just wanted to get maneuver out of the way.
Yep.
Well, that's funny because he picked maneuver for my battle. Okay, so let's talk about. So Charlie had an interesting list. He had, I don't know, 20 million Churchills,
Panthers,
Panthers, right?
in White Scout cars,
and then the
maybe 1S's.
Yeah, and some 76 millimeter guns.
it seems right. That was the guns.
Just threes. Yep. That was about it.
Yep. And so how did you handle the Churchills?
I had the Martyrs come up and sort of plink away at them from between 24 and 28 inches.
Okay.
Or, sorry, 28 and 32. So I could just keep out of his range. And then the Tigers just got a hull down position on the backside of a hill where they had a complete overwatch on one of the objectives. So he basically forced him to not be able to send his Churchills against that objective. And I had a platoon parked on it.
Okay. What as the attacker, what was your impression of the mission?
It's tough because the defenders' reserves can get into the fight right away. They don't have to go very far to start shooting at you, and the defender is really wedged in close. I mean, if Charlie had a couple of infantry platoons, he basically, he could have basically completely saturated the zone with tanks and infantry, and it would have been very hard to push into it. Because really, the defender doesn't have to defend that much.
Right. All right.
But the flip side of that is then your ranged in markers are covering more, key real estate. If you got enough, if you have multiple artillery units, could really help.
Right. But again, since he had Churchills, there wasn't much I was going to do with my artillery. Right. Mostly I was using it to drop smoke so I could get tanks into positions and not get knocked out by his 3 Panthers.
Now, did you think which objective did you take? The one?
Yeah, that one.
You took this one?
Yep.
Did you even push for this one?
I had them both. He was contesting the one on the other side of where your cursor is, but he was unable to contest that because there was enough open real estate that I was able to shoot his Panthers with the Martyrs or his Churchills with the Martyrs as they came forward.
Yeah, and as I remember that other one, Andrew, was right on a hill, and it was on like the attacker's slope of the hill, but Charlie could be just barely beyond it, and either hull down or out of line of sight.
Right.
And the other one that he ultimately ended up taking was kind of out there in the middle of open space.
Yeah. I had more long range shots than he did, so I could do that, and also my Stummels were able to get on the flanks of the Churchills, and Panzerschrecks do nasty things to Churchills as well. So basically, I was just kind of able. I had 2 infantry platoons basically holding that objective.
Oh, okay.
The Schrecks and Fausts.
Who else played? Chris, did you play this one?
Yeah, yep. I played against Scott Ernie's Fallschirmjäger infantry. We both chose maneuver, and I rolled low. His force was he had 2 platoons of Fallschirmjägers. He had a platoon of Panzer IVs. He had 5. I can't remember now if they were SS Panthers. I think they were, but they might have been Heer Panthers. He had 2 of the PaK 88s. PaK 43s or whatever they are. Not the anti-aircraft 88s, but the Tank Hunter 88s. And he had I think 12 centimeter mortars, recon. That was about it. So he definitely struggled in this mission as the attacker. He split up his force. He put his 88's in kind of an overwatch position on the long side of the table near where my reserves are coming in. And then he spearheaded from the other side of the table, and most of his attack was coming towards me there. And there was a tall hedge that sort of cut across that no man's land area right in front of my deployment zone. So he couldn't do a lot of fire coming in on me with the tanks. And it was, of course, a perfect position for my M10s to wait in ambush. It was a difficult push for him because his infantry was getting hit by my artillery was coming in. I had my 76 Shermans and one of my armored rifles in reserve, but that still left me with the armored rifles and the partisans. And he didn't push in the corner of the board from his deployment area, just pushed from the spearhead area. So the partisans were holding the corner of the board, and they held it fine. And objectives, he placed it pretty much the same as Andrew did, as far forward and as far spread out as you can in this mission. So he suffered with being foot infantry mobility issues that just made it very hard for him to get in.
Okay. So that one is, what was his mobile unit? Just his tanks, right?
He had the Panthers, and he had a platoon of, I want to say, just 3 Panzer IVs.
Okay. All right.
And they were split up enough that they were not well supporting each other.
All right. So, were you able to? Did you break the company, or you just kept him back farther than 8 inches?
Kept him back. Just kept him back. So that by turn 6, he didn't have anything within 8 inches there. I mean, it was close to breaking his company too, because there was not a lot in the company.
Did he ever get within 8 inches, and you shot him away, or did he?
Yeah, he did. He pulled into on the other side of the hedge eventually, but at that point it became very bloody, and he wasn't able to sustain there.
Okay. Well, I guess if you're going to pick mobile, you need to be mobile. I wonder if we're going to see that as a recurring theme.
Yeah, I think it is, because I think really, in the old Matrix, maneuver used to be the safe choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to attack because I don't want to have minefields against, attack the defender as minefields. I don't really want to attack. I want to have us both be mobile. You don't want to choose defend because for the same reason, I want to help control what's going on. So you choose maneuver. But I think a lot of these new missions make pluses and minuses for choosing maneuver that weren't there before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think we'll come to that conclusion when we're all said and done here.
Yes.
Let's take a look at the next one. Cornered. Yep. So cornered, just to refresh everyone, there's the attacker comes from one area on one side of the short edge. The kind of similar to the last mission, outflank. It's just the starting point is different. There's an ambush for the defender, some minefields, immediate reserves for the defender, I forgot to take that out. They're 100% not split. So it looks like Tom, who you and Chris played this one?
Yep. Yeah, we played that one in the last round.
Yeah,
Okay.
one thing to note on that mission and on Outflanked, note the defender has more than a quarter. They go past the center line. And that's that one thing that's easy for you to miss if you're used to how Battlefront has put together their missions in the past. But, that 4 inches is important in terms of cutting off the spearhead directly, from the, toward the short side of the attackers or the defender's deployment zone.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think when I did the deployment zone, I only went to 24 inches. It had no effect on our
you
game.
did. No, I checked it. You did
Oh,
go.
was? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
From the picture, it looks like 24, but I couldn't remember.
Well, okay.
It's 40, not 36.
Yeah.
24
that's
is still the same.
Yeah. Okay. Now I remember us measuring it out. Yeah.
All right. Who defended?
I did.
All
I
right.
think I had chosen defense, and what did you have, Chris?
I chose attack.
Okay, so we ended up rolling up this one.
I think maybe I chose maneuver. I can't remember now.
Is this photo from before the game started?
That is actually after the spearhead move. I think that's basically so that's just before turn one starts.
Yep.
Right.
Oh my God.
Okay. Oh yeah, I can see you spearheaded out into the.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the spearhead. Oh my Lord.
That was my 76s, my Stewarts, my M10s, an armored rifle, and of course the Recon. With the idea that I'm going to have, because right now I'm in a very bad position because I'm completely exposed to everybody in terms of his 88 batteries and everything else. But with my first move, you can see the trees up in the where Tom's arrow goes. My entire force, hightailed it behind that to get out of line of sight. And then you can see the 188 that circled up on top of the hill. And, I had to get rid of that before I could really advance.
Okay.
And that unfortunately took a while.
Yeah.
So that's
it would not die.
Okay. That's an 88.
Yes.
That's one of the pack front.
All right. So you spearheaded out here just to put that on that hill?
Yeah, and that was kind of a waste. I only had one spearhead unit, but what I should have done is I should have spearheaded towards that olive grove, right about where his spearhead's at. I could have really slowed him down another turn or two, at least that entire force, just by getting us. I don't even know if I need to put anything out there, but I could have put 288s out there with some machine gun nests to protect him from the infantry. And that could have really disrupted his. And plus, it would get more stuff out of my deployment area. And Chris had a lot of templates.
Yeah.
He had a lot of coverage, lot of real estate covered in my deployment area. I still can't believe I didn't just get totally vaporized by artillery by the end of the game.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were missing.
Yeah, I had 3 60 millimeters.
Yeah, we were bombardment all day long.
Yeah, but hitting on 3 on the SS made those 60s pretty deadly, actually.
So yeah, this is you can't spearhead too far out because then they just bypass you and swing around right between into your deployment area, go right through the middle. But I probably should have put out maybe not an infantry unit, but I should have probably put a pair of 88s and a pair of machine gun bunkers just to go out there and be a noise. I mean, he would kill him eventually, but they could have held him up for 2 or 3 turns.
All right, so you're saying that putting something out here just to stop the shenanigans.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Recon wins games.
It's pretty much his short side of his deployment zone. He was holding with 2 machine gun bunkers and an 88 bunker. And as you can see what I have facing him there. The only thing that's facing that front is 3 57 millimeter anti-tank guns who had nothing better to do but I could set up within 16 inches of him and plink away at him. Unfortunately, of course, with no HE, they weren't very effective, but they also tied up. He used some of his 81 battery to fire, or 8 centimeter battery to fire on them. So that was not firing on my infantry at the time.
Yeah, and I forgot I killed those guys. It should have been a 3-2, not a 3-1. I killed those guys and the Stewarts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
oh well. And those brown circles you see along the road, those are my minefields. And for some odd reason, I decided to bend the minefields back in front of the church. I don't know why. They just extended all the way out to the corner. That would have been because basically the reason I lost was Chris did get into that church and contested. Correction, the reason it was a draw, not a win for me, was because he was able to get into that church when I failed a very critical unpinning check, a rally check, and I couldn't put more bodies in the church, and he was able to assault it and take it, and that got him within 8 inches. Yeah,
once I gotten rid of some of the machine gun nests, the other armored rifle that you can sort of see at the bottom of the screen was able to move up, assault that church, and get in there. And just being in the church put me within 8 inches of one of my objectives.
Yeah, there was only two MG teams in there at that time, and had I rallied, even with my commander right there, but they failed to rally, I could have put another four teams in there. So, and I would have reinforced it. But oh well.
Aren't you glad you took the SS Fearless?
Yeah. The main attack that he had coming, the wide swing, that eventually got bogged down just because I was super lucky with that 88. It just held on for like a couple turns, just causing havoc for him. Yeah. And then my Panthers came in from reserve, I think on the first turn.
On the first die roll, yeah.
And so they kind of came forward, but unfortunately I got him way too close. And he bazookaed the crap out of me, and I ended up losing all 5 Panthers right on the backside of that hill. I should have had them stand off and been just a long range deterrent and with the concealment, and so it really at the end of turn 6, it did take him a little time to swing around. I could have delayed him even further, but he basically wasn't able to come over that hill. Too many machine guns and too many nests still. There, and too many. Although my anti-tank guns were gone, but by turn 6, it was too late. And if I had defended a little better, the church, swung forward those minefields and had and luck and rallied, then it was winnable. I think as the defender, and I think it's winnable as the attacker. But I just got very lucky holding up his main effort and. That was really he could have with all that armor and tanks, he probably could have gotten in there and taken that if that 88 just didn't have a heroic stand for a couple of turns.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like this one is that you need to get some recon coming out here.
Both sides. If you don't have spearhead, you're really giving up a lot in this mission.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at that road. Except for the shell holes, Tom, you could have just run right down that road and just shut it.
I think a little close to his deployment zone. You see the You see where?
I'm talking about the one farther up by where.
Oh right. The further up one, yeah.
And you deploy your pack fronts and your bunkers just 8 inches forward of the road. So
yeah. I probably would have put them all in that little vine grove or whatever vineyard or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was a good game. I enjoyed it. It was bloody for me. Yeah. He did ultimately clean out almost all of the nests, but there was still, and he destroyed one of the 2 infantry platoons. So basically, I just had 1 infantry platoon, headquarters, and mortars. And one thing I like to point out, my headquarters was under multiple templates pretty much throughout the entire game. And my CO never moved once, and he just kept saving. And I think we counted up on one of the turns we were trying to take out the 88. I had 10 saves in a row on that 88 on the hill.
Yeah,
so
it was amazing.
There was a lot of luck factor going on.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Not much you can do about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, so that's interesting about you got to throw the recon out there and then have just almost kind of changes it into a short board of no retreat almost.
Yeah, essentially it does. Yes.
Yeah.
With your objectives being a lot more concentrated.
And with this many minefields, I could have put those minefields out in that no man's land. Mm-hmm. And with 5 of them, that's enough to reach 24 inches, right? It's 20 inches plus each half inch. At least it's almost a full 25 inches or 24 inches. Mm-hmm. So you could have also helped delay that flanking movement. But I liked having him on the most likely course of action, which would have been a frontal assault, because he had tons of smoke. I expected him to use smoke and come up and clear all those minefields. And if you note, right in the middle of those minefields is where some of those machine gun nests are, right? They're not moving anyways, right? Just park them in the minefields.
Oh, yeah.
That was there so that if he did put smoke and try to get in there and clear them, I would still be shooting them up.
Gotcha. No, that's good. Good plan. Was it 6 points also for those machine gun nests?
Yeah, it's a 4-point platoon with a 2-point card.
Oh, 2-point card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure the card's 2 points. And
I think
Yeah,
that's
it
I
is.
think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of doing the same thing. I picked up those PAVN bunkers at Hard Knocks at Wolf Creek
oh yeah.
for that
They're,
very purpose.
yeah, I'm kind of liking those nest and machine gun nests and pack
They're-
nests combined.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's almost like a whole other formation.
Yeah. Well, and you've got to, as your opponent, you've got to clear much of both of them before you can really focus on
Yeah.
the regular units in the force.
Yeah, and the reroll saves, reroll firepowers. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
make them very resilient.
Oh, do they save on 3s?
Yes.
Yeah, the MG bunkers save on 3s, so yeah, it's they're ugly.
Yeah.
And they're 360 degrees. So
Yes, and they're 360 degrees shooting.
Yeah, and they're still a quote machine gun team, so you can still shoot over them. Unlike a traditional like version 3 bunker, they're basically a vehicle. They block line of sight. These don't, so you can shoot right over them. The bad thing is if there's an assault nearby, and you have to break off, they're just dead because they can't move. So that's the dangerous part is them being assaulted.
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
counter assault in the minefield and get blown up. I'm kind of amused by that concept.
Yeah. Well, they can counterattack. They just don't move when they counterattack. They already have to be in contact with somebody, or so.
Right, but you'd still have to roll to see if you survive the minefield.
I don't know. If you don't move, I don't think you would. Maybe you're right. It'd be like a tank in wooded terrain. You still have to
Yeah.
roll even though you're not moving.
think-
so.
Yeah, I think even if
probably
infantry is fighting infantry in a minefield, every time you counter, even if you're in contact, you still have to
Yeah.
re-roll.
That's a good lessons from the front thing because the nest have no movement capability at all.
Right. That's interesting. Okay. It's like, the nest move and blew up with a minefield. Okay. That's
Like
different.
watching a blancmange move.
Yeah. Did anyone else play cornered?
No,
Okay.
it was just us.
Yeah, and
All right.
nobody played a dogfight. I noticed that was one of the ones that did not come up.
So that's pretty. So pretty much the way it looks is that you gotta get out there something to blunt the recon to stop the spearhead that way. By the way, I think recon now actually becomes more important with missions like this. Some people are not bringing recon because a lot of missions you already start within 16. Now they added all these missions that you can actually use it or actually shut it down. All right. Okay. I'm done stating the obvious. Let's go on to the next thing. Spear point. So Tom, by the way, I was like, wow, what, this kind of reminds me of like an 8th or 9th grade drawing of someone with like the little planes coming through and they're shooting the little bullets at the stick figures.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was a football play start. Yeah. And then I throw the bomb to the guy doing the button hook in the wheat field.
Well, the solid lines are forward movement, and the dotted lines are retrograde movements. I'll explain those in a minute, I guess.
Tom, you are you're attacking.
I'm the attacker in this one. I picked maneuver in this round, and I think that I played Jim Markstone on this one, and I think he may have picked maneuver too. Does that seem right? Yeah, spear point is a maneuver versus a. No, actually, he must have picked attack, because that's the only. No, spear point could come out against either way, defender maneuver or attacker maneuver. I can't remember which one. I'm pretty sure I picked maneuver on this one because I picked defense the first time, and this was my okay. Let's get rid of maneuver because he had an infantry force, and I didn't expect him to attack. I think he might have picked defend, if I'm not mistaken. And
I'm
then
looking it up right now.
Yep, and then we ended up being with me
Defend.
defender. He did, yeah. Okay, makes sense. And so this one was kind of interesting. You can see the red line to the right of the screen is my deployment area, and you see the flak nest and an MG nest all along there because I had nowhere else really to put them because there's no spearhead in this mission. And then his deployment area is the box, the little blue box right about in the middle, far side middle. And then he has the interesting. Some of his reserves come in right into the box. Some of his reserves come to the corner to the left, and then the forward corner to the left. Ultimately, all of his reserves came in to the corner and on his side on the left. All the reserves he had. He had British infantry, and with two platoons of M10s, a platoon of WASP, and he had the heavy mortar card and the medium mortars, and he had some regular universal carrier recon guys of 50 cals too, as well, I should say. And so I tried to use my recon and infantry to push along the bottom of the board to the far objective. There's an objective you can't see that's just beyond that house on the left edge of the board, right where you see the M10s. And so I was trying to push there and also push towards the corner simultaneously. You can see the other infantry platoon. And ultimately, when the Panthers came in from reserves, because the attackers do have reserves in this mission, they kind of went towards the center. And I think we played about maybe 5 turns of me trying to get at him, maybe only 4. But I got blunted pretty quick. I got out there, and he whacked my Panthers. They just started getting vaporized. He destroyed or really whittled down both infantry units. So my artillery did whittle down his. The guys who were defending his church were his Free French dudes. He had a platoon of them as well. But there's a bunch of them still left in the church. There was a whole bunch out in that courtyard, and I just kind of started clearing them. But I did lay a smoke. I was getting ready to do an assault, but his M10s just started hammering the Panthers, and the infantry got too weak, and I just made the call about maybe turn 4 or 5. Like, there's no way. I'm not going to get in there. And one thing about this mission is it's not over until somebody takes an objective. So even though he can't just defend, he's got to defend, and then we'll have enough time to come back and take one of my 2 objectives, or objectives in my area. And that was a tall order. We played 8, maybe even 9 turns, and I basically realized I'm not going to win. I need to fall back. So I started falling back, and he started pushing forward and continued to whittle me down. And he actually got where he could contest an objective, but by then it was turn 8, and we were well past, or right up on the time limit. So it pretty much stalled out for her. And so it ended up being a 3-3 draw. I destroyed both universal carrier platoons. The WASP guys would not die. It took like 3 turns to kill those. He knocked out my PAX, my recon, and something else. PAX, recon. Oh, and he got the Panthers eventually too. And then I knocked out the infantry that's in that blue circle that came for on the southern side there. So it was a tough. It is very tough, I think, as the defender. You got to hold off an attack. You have delayed reserves. The attacker has immediate reserves, and the attacker's reserves can get right into the fight. But you got to hold that off, and then you still have to go forward. So that's I foresee a lot of draws in this mission. It just seems like unless a really good attacking force can just come in and crack that small box. And there's no minefield, so that's a plus.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I played this mission too against Charlie Clay. So I picked attack. He picked maneuver. He's a Churchill company, and I'm a German SS Recon. Oh, I do have a Ferdinand and some martyrs. Yeah, so I had a whole bunch of stuff that I knew that really couldn't damage. So here's the way things were set up. So I'm once again kind of like you, Tom. I was set up in this area here. Charlie was setting up in this area, and the red circles represent the where the objectives were. So Charlie went for the spread out, and I kind of put this as you don't have too much room to put this objective. It's a really tight box. I probably should have moved it a little bit closer to the building. I think I moved it as far up as I could. One of the things I was trying to do with the objective was in this street here, trying to get my Ferdinand look-see down the street, which actually worked out really well for me. But anyway, that's the setup. Now, Charlie's first move, which is, I think it should be pretty much everyone's first move, is that you're going to have to get that unit. He went straight out and took this courtyard and used the stone walls to protect the infantry. I moved my infantry up into the house, took a couple guys to the top floor and was able to shoot over the walls and take out a couple stands. So I reduced a 5-stand unit of recon to 3 stands, which, okay, that's 2 less I need to deal with. The guns, Charlie moved to get into a better position to take pot shots at stuff, and the tanks kind of positioned themselves so they wouldn't get nailed from the 30. My turn, I didn't get reserves. I started positioning myself, and I was able to start doing the spearhead thing with the Ferdinand, and I was starting to pop, tanks, Churchills. Now, here's the thing: I pretty much was killing at least one Churchill a turn with the Ferdinand. This area right here became a Churchill graveyard because the first on turn 3 and 4, Charlie's reserves came right in here with Churchills. He was just feeding the beast, and also my by that time my Tigers, my 2 Tigers came in. I brought him in, shot down the street here. Brought him in, shot down the street, and then by the way, my infantry ended up in this building and in this building, and he was trying to hide everything. Now the thing about it is, you really can't, because the Churchills were coming in here, I could have ran to this objective, but the problem is, as soon as you start committing that way, well, his crap will just come this way. So it's like you have to leave enough to protect the objective here and try to go here. Well, so my recon was trying to sneak this way. Yeah, anyway, they died about right here because, he eventually sent the KVs this way, and they were able to long range snipe. Well, hey, you're hit on 3s. Base 3s, you die right here. That's what happened to them. The Stummels, they were working their way this way too, and I think I lost 2 of them around here. One to the KV fire, and then the recon was here. Then he popped out and assaulted them. So this movement right here. You couldn't because you were coming within 8 inches, and he kept rolling back for the couple first turns. Didn't allow me to move as far as I could with these weak elements, because hey, those Churchills could have came out of this corner, and those weak elements just cannot handle it. So this is a pretty tough for the attacker. When all said and done, I lost my recon. I lost 2 of my Stummels. I lost 1 martyr to an airplane. And the infantry was pretty much okay. Oh, by the way, I was doing this thing where I would blitz out of the building, shoot with the Panzerfaust, and then shoot and scoot back into the building.
That's risky.
It was. And I was equivalent of hey, Franz, go outside. Take this with you. And he'd go out there, and as soon as he shoot it, the other guys would pull him back on a rope. You know, and the thing is that all that I would hit, and he would just bounce it because I'm just hitting on front armor. He's moving guys so I wouldn't get side shots. But when he started doing that, that's when he left things open for my little Ferdinand, because my Ferdinand was just rocking back and forth right in here, just lasering things. I did find a place to actually run one guy up on the objective where he was in bulletproof cover because of all the dead tanks. Then Charlie machine gunned him. I missed the save, and he rolled a 6.
Yeah.
That was just the way that went.
That must have been that. This was the third round. Yeah, I think I remember a big uproar.
I remember screaming.
That must have been that.
No, actually, he took a gamble. Now, by the way, I shot his one IC out of 2 or 3 of his rides. Lasered it. The one IC jumped over to something else, then jumped over to something else, then jumped over to something else. No, what he did is he took 2 Panthers, brought them up, and just nailed one of my Tigers. He could see one Tiger that was hiding in this side of the building, nailed it, and then for my saves, I rolled 2 6s, which bounced. That was the uproar you heard, because that's Charlie going, no, I had him, and yeah, and of course the return fire was devastating, but yeah, it was, I was trying to get in there, I'm surprised Charlie just didn't make a run for the backside here, because that's where I had my Panzer IVs. Where when they came in, I had them back here kind of laying in wait. I would have preferred them running them out this way to go get for that objective, but you just can't leave that objective open. What are you gonna do? Run back the infantry?
The pack nest and machine gun nest combined made a nice little. Okay, I'm just gonna leave this little line of stuff for you to come deal with.
Yeah. But at the end, Charlie he had 4 units he was checking for last stands on, a bunch of tank units, and then the recon. But they're fearless, and Charlie was rolling good, so I just couldn't get break. And with all the death and carnage, it was a 1-1.
Yep.
Yeah. Charlie's writing here. So no complaining after you roll 2 6s to save your Tigers from Panther fire. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah, Charlie, no complaining after you rolled 2 6s to save Churchill from Faust and Shreks.
Yeah, you had far too many infantry threaten the objective for me to move out. That is true. I thought if you left and you left a token force, I was just going to, just hell's bells on it. But, anyway. Well, the other thing, too, is I was doing pretty nicely, and I was thinking, okay, so if it did come up here in the corner, I'm like, all right, good. I can go push here. But when all of a sudden 8 more Churchills show up, you're like, oh my God, how many do I have to kill? So anyway, that was a tough battle. I know 1-1 it doesn't sound like too much, but there was a lot of death. So it is. And I think my fort, I would have preferred the defending than attacking in this one. Anyway,
I think one thing, this is one of those missions that is going to cause people, especially who choose attack a lot, to rethink list building. Because Andrew and I actually played a practice game of this with a different list he was thinking of running, which was the sort of typical British armored car list with, an armored car force, then with M10s and I can't remember what all else you had.
Churchills,
a little bit of infantry. And this one, because as the attacker, you have to hold those objectives. Forces that are full of lots of little units that are looking towards attacking are really going to run into problems for the
Right.
very reasons you've been talking about, is that they don't have enough to both hold the objective and push. Because and with the defender getting the first move, not only do they have the chance to get those first shots out, they also know they're going to have the first move when they deploy, and that means they're going to start getting their reserves essentially one turn fewer. The attacker has one turn fewer before those reserves start coming on.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that makes the defender's life a lot more interesting and the attacker's life a lot more challenging.
Right. And that's a lot of why for this tournament, I built a list with 3 infantry platoons. So I could use 1 to lock down each objective plus 1 to still attack.
Yeah. I'm thinking 3 infantry platoons is probably the way to go. 2's just not doing it. Because I wouldn't mind of sending another infantry platoon this way.
That's what I did.
Yeah, no, I'm not getting the bang I was getting on my Stemmels before. So actually, I might lose the Stemmels as much as I love the little guys. They're so cute.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing plays in Team Yankee because of the movement speeds. Like BMPs, they rock cross country like 24 inches. So that going for that far objective isn't as unfeasible or infeasible for some. I don't know about the NATO stuff as well because I don't play that, but I just know BMPs can haul on a dash.
Well, I think a lot of the new missions are going to be a big new change for Team Yankee, where you've got people on your flanks, you've got people coming in behind you, you've got to run through a gauntlet of people on either side of you. I think that's going to shake a bunch of things up in terms of being able to protect the flanks of heavy armor.
And not that the BMPs can take an objective by themselves, but you could still leave the infantry to defend those objectives as the attacker in your area, and still send all the BMPs and just some of the infantry out towards the other objective.
Well,
split those things up.
Now, I was just thinking about this. So Patrick said airborne units will come in super handy in this mission, and I agree wholeheartedly.
Oh boy, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Could you imagine just all of a sudden dropping a helicopter with dudes right here?
I think my tactics just changed for this weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Remember that you got to sit on that ground that first turn and look how far away the deployment zone is. There could be a lot of machine guns on you pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now it's all about the terrain, right? But yeah, you think if you come in there now, I think the first turn your helicopters hover, right? And
No,
the second,
down.
They sit on the ground.
Defender is a meeting engagement, right?
Yes.
In this mission, so you have no air.
Right. But the attacker could drop the infantry in that woods on their first turn, and then they dismount
Because they're helicopters.
second turn. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not constrained by the no air, sorties in the first.
Right. Yeah, and you have to plunk a smoke screen down to protect them or something.
I thought helicopters do if you're in a meeting engagement rule, helicopters do have to stay off the table.
Right. But
Yeah.
I'm talking about for the attacker.
the attacker.
The attacker.
Right. Since the defender moves first, they can't do it though in this mission. The
Right.
attacker could on their half of the turn.
Yeah, that means you need to get someone there pronto.
Right.
And in the tournament, that's what my opponent did. Was he basically parked his ambush unit where the train station is, and then just dashed onto the objective on turn 1.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
when I was
that's where
attacking, I had to fight my way through a T-34 platoon.
When I put him in this mission, he had to suck off a whole rifle platoon and
That's a lot of work.
and a recon unit, and then he basically had the M10s kind of floating in support of him, but not quite up with him, so they could go center or to that far objective as necessary. So he really had to invest a lot into going to protect that thing, even though I really didn't push very hard on it.
So I think that this mission is, I don't know. I think it would probably have been better for each one of us if it was reversed. That Charlie was attacking with his Churchills and I was defending. I think it would have been better suited for our games, and we probably would have just had a 3-3 instead of a 1-1. So let's take a look here. So that was the deployment. Gauntlet. Now I played Gauntlet. I don't remember. I don't think either of you guys played Gauntlet.
No, just William and Jason.
All right. Let me tell you how fun this one is. So I was defending. So here's the board, right? So I'm defending in this these sections here where the blue is, and Mark Webb is coming out of this section. This is where he picked to attack. The objectives are actually underneath these buildings. And even though I'm like 12 inches away and he's roughly 16 inches away, so he gets the first turn. Now, by the way, Mark's playing the Russian engineers, sappers?
Yep.
Sappers.
Okay. And he's got 3 platoons, and each platoon has 2 flamethrowers. Oh, joy.
Photographs of all the tables.
What's that?
You got photos of all the tables?
Oh, well, I took photos of the tables I played on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's this wonderful thing that people have in their pockets now that can take photos. And sometimes I get a phone call on it.
Yeah, don't be a smart ass.
Okay. Sorry. It's my natural element.
I was wondering if you took pictures of their tables.
Well, Tom had some.
Yeah, okay, because I know some of you guys play on the same game. But anyway, go ahead, continue.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I knew his gun's going to be up here, so I kind of threw some recon. My elephant's sitting over here because this is a nice open side. My martyrs are over here in case whatever comes over. By the way, it wasn't going to matter because he had Panthers and he also had the IS-2s. So, these guys they actually became more like machine gun platforms as they supported over here. So this is the one. So he went first. And so he's moving through the buildings, coming towards the objectives with two things of infantry, 1 infantry, and the IS-2s are off on reserves. He's pushing through the buildings. I moved towards the buildings too. Now I have SS, and I also have the best cards for the infantry. So I blitzed, full move, and then to follow me, and I was pretty much on top of these. I love it. And a 3 to blitz, and a 3 for, that's why they call them the best, And anyway, of course, his first turn, his first turn, his IS-2s come on board, and he decides to come right for my little recon. Yeah. Oh well, my recon just took it on the nose. All 3 games. They were like, just they didn't survive. By the way, being a recon thing in Joe's army is a rough duty.
Yes, especially if you hit on 3+, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they got rid of that you can break off rule. Yeah.
I did blitz and took out one of the IS-2s with the Ferdinand. So on turn 2, I'll take away this. Turn 2, he's pretty much on top of the infantry with his flamethrower on this side. This other one's taking a little bit longer. He's in this building. And, it's one of those things. Okay, he needs 5s to hit. And flamethrower, 5 hits or 4 hits. Oh, it might as well have been 5 hits. Yeah, 4 hits. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm picking up figs like, it's not going out of style. I don't have, I think I have 3 guys left on this side. And I'm like, oh boy, this is a short game. And, but, between the martyrs and the stummels that were over here, I was able to put so much fire into there. And he chose not to assault. which was a mistake because that was the time to do it, and actually it turned out to be a folly. And over here, I wasn't going to let that happen again. So on my turn, I actually assaulted him, and by the way, I do not like the body armor rule when you hit those guys. He made so many saves. I'm like, woo, hey, oh, 6, they're saved. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Anyway, so they're like Ninja Turtles. That's basically what they are. Ninja Turtles with flamethrowers. And he saved his guys, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I am now toast. And he comes back for his assault. Now he's looking for 3s, right? 6 rolls, all 1s and 2s, and I'm like, whoo! And I actually got to come back, and then made right, took away the flamethrowers and a couple other guys, and then pushed him back. I'm like, okay, that could have been disastrous. But anyhow, that was kind of weird. The what else? Oh, and then eventually we went back and forth. And what ended up happening was, I ended up breaking his company. Oh, dude. He had his one IC that was traveling this way, and I popped him out of this building. And I go to assault the one IC by himself. 2 guys, 2 hits, yay! 2 6s on the save of the body armor. I just couldn't catch a break. But anyway, I ended up breaking the company eventually. Oh, because he had the small platoons. 8 men, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, they're pretty crunchy.
Yeah. Especially since 2 of them were flamethrowers. Those guys, he might as well just paint red circles on their chest and stuff. So this is one of those missions where, depending on the terrain, like this city was perfect for this game. Just coming right through the buildings with your infantry. Now, it's for if you're attacking with infantry, like if you're that tank company and stuff like that. I don't think this is a good mission. Of course, then I wouldn't put the objectives in the buildings. I would, move them back a little and outside of the buildings. But because a lot of people when they do boards, they usually put a town in the center, and this is one of those things where you're going to be fighting through that center. I don't know. It's an interesting game. I think if I was attacking, I would.
I think a lot of people are probably thinking about just spreading the objectives like you traditionally do. But I think as the attacker, you ought to look at putting an objective right dead center of that attack, the objective zone, because that's that gets the furthest away from both of the defenders' areas. I know they're closer together, so it's conventional wisdom to spread them out. But I'm like, man, if you put it right in the middle, you can dash right up and circle it pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, boom, boom. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, also, if you put them together, it's easier for you to hold both of them.
Yeah. Well,
you can concentrate.
True.
Since you're placing the objectives.
Make it a one objective game.
Essentially, yeah. Because if you're in a position that you can spearhead to it or dash to it, because
right.
you want because you'll have the ability to do a dash straight up the center of the board because no enemy is going to stop you from doing it. Because that's what Andrew and I played this matchup last night actually with Team Yankee, and I was able to do that with my my infantry carriers were able to just dash right up, and they were in the objective turn 1.
Of course, they have to stay there until turn 6, but still.
Correct, but you can get in there. Turn 2, you can dig in, and that's before your opponent really has had much of a chance to get up there.
In Team Yankee, this game is ugly because the ranges are so long. and
Oh yeah.
being concealed and gone to ground isn't such a great advantage. So
Just a side note, Eric says he's going to have to paint his engineers as heroes in a half shell turtle power, and his Germans as clan foot. Anyway, so it's an interesting game. Yeah, by the way, Team Yankee. It's kind of like what Daffy Duck going. I wonder where all the hunters are today. And just
yeah, it was definitely duck season. Yeah.
yeah. So, the flamethrowers, boy, it's a great scenario for that. This is a great table and scenario for those flamethrowers. I was just blah. And then Scouts Out. I played that, and I think who else?
I played it as well.
Okay. How'd your game go?
I played William Brown, who was right behind Andrew, and after Andrew dropped out, won the tournament, and it was very interesting. You look at it and you say it looks a whole lot like Dust Up, right? I mean, you each have your quarters. You've got the differences are your reserves are coming right into your quarter, which of course makes it a lot easier to hold those areas. But you've also got one objective that's outside your quarter that you're not able to deploy on. With William, he had foot infantry. He had the SS Panzer Grenadiers, and he had some 88s, and he had some Hetzers, some actual Hetzers in the tournament, and some Panzer 470s, I think. I can't remember now what his other rest of his force was. But his infantry was all on foot. And of course, I had the mobile armored rifles. So, if you look at this, you can see that you can only spearhead out of your short side deployment zone. You can't go out of the long side because there's an objective right outside your deployment zone. So you can't do that. Well, I was able to spearhead out significantly there. And there was a fortuitous hill between that I could, sort of much like I did with Tom, spearhead and get behind. And so this is one where you roll to see who goes first, too, after you've done all your moves. So I had my armored rifles there. I had my Scots there. I had my recon there. And I think that was about it that got there first. Oh, and the Stuarts. And so they were all sitting behind that hill. And he had his foot infantry that had to move on to that objective. And the only thing he had over there helping to hold it were the Hetzers, also not good for moving up in close contact. So I got the first move, if I remember right, and was able to get up into a position on the hill. And then he was stuck with having to, no, I'm sorry, he had the first move. He had the first move. He was able to move up, but then I was able to move up onto the hill and alongside the hill and machine gun his infantry moving up. And it was not pretty.
Hit on threes.
Hit on threes, yes. So this is definitely one where a player can get caught off guard with having to defend that objective that's outside of their deployment. Because again, as you point out here, the objective's hot on turn one. So you got 60% on the table. And again, it kind of speaks to, again, thinking about how the missions work. Everybody traditionally thinks, okay, I'm going to put my heavy stuff in reserve, so I only have one reserve unit. Well, here you've got delayed reserves, and you've got the possibility that you've got to move on to an objective with whatever you start with, and your opponent can be right there, greeting you as you move forward. So, I mean, it kind of throws a what do I want to start on the table with if I end up getting this mission?
Right. What was the result of your game?
Because in this one, you've got your reserves coming right in behind them. Essentially, the battle was almost entirely on his quadrant. he had one infantry platoon that was kind of threatening my side, but I was holding it with my partisans and my 57s and no, I guess the Stuarts were over there and the Stuarts. And there was no question that he was ever going to get in there. His infantry platoon also stayed pinned most of the game there. But unfortunately, in his area, he got his reserves early on, and they were able to feed in there, and he was able to keep going, keep holding it. And we got at least 6 turns in, but I wasn't able to completely eliminate him there, and it ended up being a 3-3 draw.
Okay. All right.
I'm looking at these the two areas that you put objectives in. Either I wonder why there's a second. It seems like both fights are always going to be about those ones that are close to the center line. Those ones that are along the reserve area seem like they're a forlorn hope from even getting that.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, you could stretch the defender out, but not that.
Yeah, I mean you do have to put something there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I played this, and this was the board. So the areas look like this. I was in this blue area. My opponent was in this orange area. The circles are the objectives. So there's one on the other side of the house. It's kind of like, we kind of like blindly both placed it in the corners closest to us. Hindsight is I probably should have moved it a little bit away from the house, but that's okay. I was thinking, hey, this infantry can look, I got the trees, I got the house, bada bing, bada boom, right?
So who were you playing and what kind of force did they have?
Okay. So they had 2 formations, one, rifles, American rifles. And they had a tank destroyer, with the desert card, desert veteran card. They also had, Stuarts and regular Shermans, as part of the company. Everyone was hit on 3s, so everyone's just regulars. His spearhead was that he moved his recon unit out here and put an infantry platoon to threaten this objective. I moved mine out here. I had my Stummels that were here, and I put my mortars over here. Just because one of the things that sucks about these mortars, it's only 40 inches. So actually sitting back here like this hill, I could barely get over here. So I decided to move that over there so I could get, some more mortar loving this way. He put his mortars here. Actually, you can see 4 mortars, and he had some T60s, right?
T30s.
T30s. Well, and so 3 of them over there. That was his artillery. He had the first turn. He moved up to a certain point, and then what I did is I moved my infantry into this house, this one here, and I moved. I actually saw his first move that he moved all these guys forward. So I moved mine here because I saw the mortars were, basically he was trying to do the same thing. He only had 40 inches also, right? Or 32 or these. Anyway, 40. They're not 40. So he doesn't have that long. And there's nothing really guarding the objective other than all this wonderful stuff. I moved here, and my next turn I moved here to assault this. Now he moved up. I moved to this building, and my mortars moved up and became machine gun platforms. And I just started machine gunning the guys. Stuarts wanted to come out and play. The Shermans wanted to come out and play. But, hey, look, there's a Ferdinand over here. It kind of really kept them at bay. Because if I put it here because I can either go this way or this way with it. and I just started sniping anything that would pop its head out. So these units actually spent a lot of their time behind these hills. He did split a couple guys into the house here to shoot this way, and he dug in on the objective over here. My first turn, I did range because I went second. I ranged in over here, and Patrick, you're right. Yeah, the T-30s is twice as good as a T-60. I ranged in on these guys, and then what I did is I let my smoke go across, and I assaulted with 5 of my 7. The other 2 I left in the house. Here's the interesting thing about those 5 gentlemen. We hardly knew thee. After the assault, and I still had the smoke screen up, he moved stuff back and kind of moved a couple things over, and he ended up getting 5 hits on my infantry. 5 stands, 5 hits, 5 1s and 2s. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Because the one I seen 2IC was over here by their lonesome. And I was like, oh, I can go snack on these guys. Nope. Oh, well. Anyway. So that's kind of how this game went. When my reserves, which were my Panzer IVs and Tigers, came on, I pretty much, the Tigers came this way to take, because his, whatchamacallit, the tank destroyer started coming on, and they want, I don't know, there was something over here. Oh, I know, it was the recon. The recon was sniping into this building, so they were sitting back here, and he brought his tank destroyers to get them, and so I moved my Tigers up, took shots. This guy took shots. The Martyr's taking shots. So I was taking out tank destroyers, and he ended up taking out the recon once again. Never volunteered to be my recon in my force. And my Panzer IVs made a beeline this way. And then I was threatening the objective. Most of these guys were shot up because my mortars eventually started working on them. His reserves coming in. That's what I machine gunned. These guys were almost broken. It was pretty sad. We just ran out of time. So it was one of the interesting things is by sliding on over, I don't think it didn't hit me much or him much. But if I had a more mobile force and I put this out this way with some tanks, between what I had, I don't think he could have handled, like, for example, like Charlie Clay, if he had the Churchills, this ain't going to handle the Churchills. And then you just recon this way, put a token force to hold, keep this stuff honest. And I think you probably could take it. But once again, you need that mobile force, that mobile quality taking things out force, not a bunch of guys hoping they find a building to run into before they get to the objective.
Right.
Right.
That's why I like that German recon platoon. You could have run up with all the half tracks, 7 half tracks, 4 shots apiece.
Yeah.
And 3s are going to leave a mark.
Yeah, I'm thinking half tracks are starting to look really good now.
Yeah, because if you get the first move, you can dash and be contesting the objective immediately. Well, you don't casting that turn, but you could be all over the objective on the first turn. Sure, you're still mounted, but you're going to lose a few, but your guys are going to dismount on a 3+ and survive, and they're going to be right on top of the objective.
Right.
You can instantly be in position.
Yeah. Well, and again, if the recon, for example, you go up behind that wall behind the house, you're hit on a 5 or a 6.
Yeah. Even foot infantry, if you got the spearhead to get out there, then you can move up 12 inches across country and follow me another 4, and so you can get a 16-inch move.
Yep.
And so that would put you right along the right in contact with the objective on the first move.
True. So there's some different ways of doing it. Now this is a wide open map, but Now, of course, if you failed, you're just kind of flapping out there in the breeze.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of those again. Thinking in terms of Team Yankee, you put 12 BMPs out there. Depending on what's in reserves or what the terrain's like, there could be a lot. I mean, even you lose half of them, you're still going to have a bunch of stuff there and a bunch of infantry on the ground.
And you just created a lot of hard cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
you shot me out of my BMP? Oh, bummer.
Right. It's like a Russian shield wall.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. Did someone else play another mission?
I played Killing Ground.
Killing Grounds. Okay, hold on. Let me pop Killing Grounds up here. Oh, there we go.
Uh-huh.
This is my note. The reserves arrived from the corners. Okay.
Right. And so potentially an ambush from the corners. So I was playing Jim Markstone, who had 2 M10s, battery of 6-pounders, 2 infantry platoons, platoon of FFI, heavy mortars, light mortars.
Wasp.
Wasps. Yeah. Right. I forgot about them. Wasps and Brens. And so basically I was running, SS Recon. So pretty much I ran a 250 half-track company basically up his deployment area on each side to prevent any ambushes on the flanks. And then my Stummels backing them up. And the infantry pretty much pressed both objectives at the same time. And that 3rd infantry platoon going straight up the middle. Tigers backing up the infantry. But again, you have to be very careful because until he pops his ambush, it can come in from behind you. So I sent my martyrs up the middle because I knew that they would be most vulnerable to a side reserves coming in from the sides or an ambush. So this way, at least he would not get short range shots on them if he comes in, if his reserves come in from the sides. Yeah. And basically, it was just a case of he just didn't have enough stuff on the table to stop a much faster force that was able to kind of concentrate where he was, as things started to fail on his side of the table, I could immediately redeploy a platoon again, more forces against it, and was able to just overwhelm a certain point on the table. I had to be very careful with the M10s, but he got impatient and ran them forward to try to kill my Tigers, at which point the Tigers and the Martyrs and the Stummels all returned fire on them.
Oof.
So 1 platoon of M10s is gone on turn 2, and the next platoon, he just got into a long-range gunnery duel with Stummels, and they basically didn't move to contest the other objective where my Tiger was. So I was simply able to just kind of roll the Tiger slowly forward, and he popped his ambush, which was his 6-pounders directly in front of me. So in fact, they were right between me and the objective. So there he was hitting front armor, but he targeted the Stummels instead of the Tigers, wiped them out. I sent my recon after his Wasps. I had to be very careful with his Bren carriers because they had 50 cal, so they could actually kill the German recon tracks really easily.
Yeah, don't they know it?
Don't they know? Well, it's funny being German, being hit on 3s. I'm actually coming up on the short side of that gun battle.
Yes.
So I had to rely on the Stummels to back them up.
Where did Jim put his minefields?
Basically, he blocked off. Let's see. I'm looking at this table, this map. He blocked off basically the right side of his. So basically, about where Joe is drawing a line. So it basically forced me to go very wide on my my attack on the right side of the board. Yep. So right about where the arrow is. Yep. So sort of right on that corner there. Yep. Okay. And so I had to go all the way around it. So basically, I threw the bulk of my attack up the center and the other side. And the 2 objectives were placed on the far corners of the objective area. And then he had an infantry platoon on each objective. But, a lot of 28 shots with half tracks are going to make infantry go away, even if they're dug in.
Yeah, true.
And plus Tigers and Martyrs and Overwatch, so they were able to keep the bigger assets off of the infantry. So I was able to grind them down. Eventually, the Tigers got into an assault. He failed his counterattack. I'm on the objective. Next turn, he doesn't unpin. Game over.
Yeah, this one you don't have to wait till turn 6.
Right. Yeah. So I was just going as I was basically going as fast as I could just to take it, try and see what I can get rid of before the reserves come onto the table.
It does concern me that the ambush, like if there's a very mobile ambush unit, maybe not a shooty one, or maybe a mobile assaulty one, even infantry, that could go in there and tear up all the attacker's artillery.
Yep.
That he might leave in the rear.
Yep.
And it's hard to block out all of that ambush stuff, because if you try to put units out there to preclude ambushes from behind you, then you have nothing to go forward with, or much less.
Right. So in fact, my artillery was positioned almost dead center of my deployment area, as far forward as I could go. With that in mind, because I didn't want him to do that. Now, fortunately, all my artillery was mobile. It was mortars and west. So had he pushed, I could have run away. But
now, if you had machine gun nest and pack nest, then defend
right.
that area.
But unfortunately, there was a town between his where the objectives were and where my attack was, which meant that machine gun nests and pack nests could not have contributed to the attack.
I don't know if it was on a podcast or on one of Joe's thing, but we were talking about that. Like, we always put towns in the center. We need to put them more towards the edges. Multiple towns, here, over there. Yeah. Not just have the town square in the center of the board in every game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, because before I always felt that we fought around the town. Now a lot of these things you're going to fight through it.
Yeah, more
in certain battles like Gauntlet, if you're the attacker, you are really excited to have a town there in the middle of the board.
Yep.
Great cover.
I also played Spearhead or Spear Point, and after that one, I was really considering running the SS command card that allows you to roll to move first, even if you are the defender. So,
really?
Yeah. So suddenly Spear Point changes if you know the attacker is actually going to move first.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that for another day. Is what I will try.
You'll give up your artillery, but was there something else that you get? You also are not dug in or something.
None of your forces can be dug in or gone to ground at the end of your first turn.
Yeah.
But remember, it's an option, so you don't have to attack first. You can then start off normally dug in. Gone to ground, and if you go, I don't think so. But what it does do is it forces the defender who was going to move first to now deploy farther back, because now they have to deal with the possibility that you will be getting the first shot.
Yeah, actually, what's the name of that card?
I think it's Auert, AUERT.
Yeah, it's a commander, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a commander from SS D-Day.
Okay, SS D-Day, commander card, house.
Hang on, I got my deck right over there.
So it stays house, like you're going to drop a house,
That's the guy's name.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, that actually really does change that mission.
Right. And well, any mission that you would move second, you could say, I'm going to be defender. You'd set up, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to attack, and then you throw that card down. Now, it's not automatic; it's a 3-up, so you should probably, whenever you take that card, also always take a lucky card just for insurance. But
can you use the lucky card with that then?
And Spear Point shows up in 4 of the 9, cells, if you will, on the matrix.
Yeah.
So it could be a fairly common mission.
So let's look at this. So all that put together, how do you guys think this changes list building? I know we kind of touched about so I'll go around the horn. I'll start with Tom. So Tom, how do you think this changes list building? And
definitely more of a premium on Recon and Spearhead. And I think it helps things that you wouldn't see before, like the MG Nest. Now I see a lot of use for MG Nest to hold ground while you go attack elsewhere. So those are the 2 things that, and it was just fortuitous that the list I've been playing against Ed was kind of set up that way anyways. So.
Okay. Andrew?
You're going to need to be able to defend. Even if you're going to attack, you need the ability to defend. And I think probably, at least the way I look at it, you're always going to want a minimum of 2 infantry platoons.
Right.
I don't think, especially in Spear Point, you can't hold both. Anyone where the attacker has multiple objectives, you need to have the ability to lock one down and kind of position your attack force between the defender and the other one. So I think that's a big one. I think suddenly the I believe it's Panzer Pioneer card becomes a lot more valuable for Germans, especially if we're taking 1/16, where your skill now goes to a 4. If you're playing Scouts Out, you want to be able to move on to that objective and dig in. And digging in on a 2 or a 3 becomes much more valuable.
And does a Pioneer help them enter minefields? And they're
yeah, it does that too.
Yeah, 2+ to enter a minefield, so that could be huge too, because
Right.
instead of having to
That
bypass them, you just
valuable.
move through them.
Or half tracks, the ability to immediately run out and jump on some infantry platoon that's trying to contest an objective in no man's land. You need the ability to really hit somebody fast. So I think mobility becomes a lot more important as well. So, you have this problem of you need to be able to lock down an objective plus be more mobile to either attack the opponent's objective really quickly before they can lock it down, or to run back and defend your own objective.
Okay, Chris, what are your thoughts on the list?
Well, I mean, I think what we've been talking about is what has always done well in Flames of War, which is combined arms. I think the idea of I can take a tank company with no infantry is going to be really perilous now with a lot of these missions. And I can take an infantry company with no tanks, same thing. I mean, it really, opens up all of that possibility.
Okay.
I also think it makes Tigers even better, because there are a lot of missions where you're going to be shot from the flanks now because of the defender's deployment area. And Panthers, I think, are just going to have a hard time, in killing ground. They can get popped from the flank very easily.
Right.
Yeah, great. You just gave another reason to not play Panthers.
Yeah, I know. Well, smoke was still your friend, so.
Yes.
I'm not
I think that's another point is smoke is a lot more valuable in a lot of these missions. The times you can protect a flank, cut off return fire, any of that stuff. There are a lot more times when, I did that in my game with you, Tom.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to completely hide that move to behind the hill in my spearhead. And I knew that you had your packs in ambush, and I knew that you could get them in a position that they could hit my stuff sitting there. So I used a smoke bombardment to.
And even without the packs from the 88 nest could have hit you.
Yeah.
Some of them could have. Yeah.
Well, I'll pose the new question. I was going to ask something else, but the question is, do you think these new messes are meta changers? Now, of course, I don't know what the meta was before, but I guess like past front.
I don't think so.
But
good tactics are good tactics. I don't see how that's really changed it. But I think maybe it pushes you a little more. You can't quite do a force that's as unbalanced as we might have earlier. Yeah. But I think version 4 made that a lot harder to do effectively anyway, especially once you say, okay, you can't assault into buildings now with armor.
Right.
Suddenly it's like, I have an infantry platoon in this building holding this objective. Ha ha ha.
I like it. I agree. Like what Chris was saying with the, it does push you to even further away from all infantry and all armor, but or all armor. But we kind of were there already, anyways. It just kind of pushes it a little further, makes that even less viable. But I didn't think it was particularly viable to begin with.
And I think something like Spear Point makes mobility just absolutely critical for both the attacker and the defender.
Yeah.
Now, we touched down here. My second question. This is my second question, but so now mission selection. Now you got your force. You picked. You got it. Mission selection. We touched about this a little earlier. Let's kind of dive it down. So now that you're picking, attacking, maneuvering, defending, how do you think this affects that mission selection? I'll start with Chris.
Well, as I said at the beginning, I think the maneuver choice is no longer the easy button. It is not the safest choice you can make. It has some issues, and I think also with attack now, now with missions like Escape or missions like that, or even Spear Point. You've got to create a list that can both defend and attack.
Right.
Simultaneously. Yeah.
Yeah, simultaneously. Yes. It's not just the fair fights anymore.
Right.
Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah, it makes maneuver a much trickier choice, because even if you're the attacker, you're not necessarily straight up attacking. I think attack is still, I don't want to say basically the same, but I feel like that's still relatively consistent. But I feel like if you're playing maneuver, you definitely have to have the ability to come out and dance. And defend is certainly not something where you can just dig in and let them take a swing at you anymore. So you have to have the ability to get up and move. So I think mobility, like I said, I think mobility becomes really important for the attacker and the defender.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm thinking I want to attack more often. I mean, I was kind of that way anyways. Despite this last tournament, I chose to defend more often. I was running in my mind, a defensive list. So I was playing defensive deliberately. But my true, and what I really want to do is just attack and just blitz and mass and roll up behind a big smoke screen and then just jump all over stuff. So I want to do that even more with these missions, But then the point that I still then have to kind of think about my rear area fortunately like if I'm playing, it was World War II with the nest and the bunkers kind of did that for me. And maybe in Team Yankee, if I leave a BTR unit back there that still has those long range missiles to still support the main fight, then, so maybe there's some solutions for that stuff that Andrew's talking about. But I think I still want to attack in the majority.
Okay. Then Nathan's got our next question. Is mobility the new key? If it is the new key, do certain nations, let's keep it to Flames of War for the moment. Then we'll talk about Team Yankee. But so Andrew, we'll pick on you first.
Well, I think the Germans have the advantages of the really great half tracks. The recon. I think the recon platoon has potential for greatness. You've got 7 half tracks, 1 squad in each half track. So if the half track gets blown up, you're only having to roll 1 save. You got that. It's fast. It's gone to ground unless it opens fire. And 4 times 6 shots, 24 machine guns, and then you may also have two 37 millimeter shots. So you can put down a lot of fire. So yeah, the Germans. It really depends on how you play. I think I keep saying, well, I don't think the British have it, but the only disadvantage they have is they really can't mount much of their infantry. It costs too much to put them in kangaroos.
Oh, how awesome!
Yeah. But they also have yeah, exactly. But they also have Cromwells, which I think are kind of fun. But I think the British will have a little bit of trouble.
Okay.
They may have to run a lot more. They may actually have to err on the side of more defensiveness, like putting FFI platoons out or something.
Well, what about Russians? I don't think, other than like the armored recon guys,
they're going to have issues because I think in general mechanized infantry that can get tank support becomes a really powerful thing, and that's one thing that the Soviets lack. Because the armored recon, yes, they're in White Scout cars and they've got some mobility, but the White Scout cars aren't exactly mobile. I mean, you can put them in Bren carriers, but they're small platoons. All of that it makes it a challenge. So, I think it's mechanized infantry and their friends.
Right. T-34s.
U.S. armored rifles and Stuarts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the ARP just went up in its value.
Yep.
Just fast moving with a big unit that can put a lot of stands on the ground.
Yep. I think T-34s have the advantage that they can get places really fast, but they can't shoot that first turn.
Well, so Tom, so what nation do you think the mobility is the winner, and which one's the
I
loser?
think U.S. because they ARP and the stabilizers. I think you have a lot more moving and shooting. I think they're I perceive will have the best ability to swarm and get a lot of stuff in a position quickly.
Okay. So let's talk about now Team Yankee wise. Who do you think
Soviets.
I'm going Leo ones anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, just a crap load of Leo ones.
We'll find out this weekend, and
Yeah, we'll have this conversation again next week. We'll know a lot more.
But
yes,
I think in the Soviets, just because the speeds are faster. Everybody's speeds are faster. Bradley's move like 28 inches on a dash, and 113s move 20 inches, and so you're going to be there with a lot of stuff. But the Soviets will be there with a big honking unit really quick.
Yeah, I think though the one thing that's going to be interesting is you've got a lot of little tiny deployment zones comparatively in these new missions, and how many times are the Soviets going to have to put stuff in reserve just because they literally can't fit? And how many times as the defender are they going to get plastered by some bombardments?
Yeah.
You don't have enough air. You don't have enough AA, and those tornadoes or the British Harriers come in with their Salvo 8-3.
Right.
It's going to be devastation there.
Yeah, that spear point deployment area is almost the same size of a salvo template.
Right. Yeah, a couple of Lars barrages or
or
a Harrier with bomblets. Yeah, it's a bad day for the defender.
Right off fast. Starburst.
So, how about final thoughts, Chris? Any final thoughts on this? And by the way, everybody else out there. Wait a minute. Is that? John Lee, come. Hey, Ed. Ed, what brings you here?
Ed, okay, Ed, wrap up your commentary.
That's right. Yeah, how do you want to conclude, Ed?
Yeah. So,
what were you talking about? I just got What are you guys doing here? What are you doing here?
Where were you, dude?
yeah.
I forgot. Yeah.
Well, hey, at least you showed up. That's half the battle, right?
That's right.
It's a little bit of money. I don't know.
Anyway, Ed, I'll give you a recap. We've been talking about missions and the missions that we played this past weekend, and the pros and cons, what worked, what didn't work, and what we thought was going to work. How we think it's going to change the game and list building, that kind of stuff. That's what was going on. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I played one of them. I just played the encirclement mission, and I played the same mission at the Huntsville tournament as well.
Yeah, you should probably pull that one up because none of us played it.
Yeah, hold on. I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. Well, that's good then. I can contribute in my little way here.
There it is, encirclement.
Okay. Yeah, it's very different, and it splits up the attacker where you can't mass your forces and just pinpoint a weak spot and go at the defender's defense. So you gotta find a way to get to it because 60% of your force is on one side and 40% is on the other. So if you're attacking, you're going to go through his concentrated fire any way you look at it, because where they set up, you can see they could easily put their centered heavy firepower in the center, and by doing so, they can engage either side quite effectively. And that's exactly what happened to me in both cases. And in both cases, I was the attacker. And so I really did think, though, I had my opponent. I was playing Germans on this thing, and I had the Tiger Ace. I had in this particular case, it was roll over them, and all he had was partisans protecting the one isolated objective on one of the sides there. So I chose to go that direction. And his partisans didn't have any anti-tank weapons. I think, I got roll over them, and they're partisans. I mean, how good can this get? And so I headed straight for him. And the thing is about this scenario, though, he's got those immediate scattered reserves. And so this was my final game at the tournament. And so the previous two tournaments that I had, each time their reserves came in the right time at the right spot. And I think, well, surely it can't happen again on the third one. And by God, it did. And it came in. He came in with Su-122s on my flank, moving shots at close range. And so he still needed 5s or 6s, and he had four vehicles. Well, he got 4 hits with 4 vehicles on my 3 Tigers, and ouch! I was fortunate. 1 died and 1 bailed, and I had 1 left. And so I did happen to make morale. I shot at him and just did 2 bails on him, and then I tried to creep back into some kind of concealment. Well, that wasn't enough. He just chased me, and again, fat chances to hit me. And he hit me again with 3 of the 4. One of them didn't remount. 3 of the 4 vehicles, and boom, that was it. And for the most part, the game was over at that point. It was rough.
So, Ed, would you say that your Tigers got encircled?
I think I was more encircled than they were because of how I came into the thing, where I just chose to hurriedly decide to charge and crush those partisans. I ended up being encircled. Yeah, sure did. Mm-hmm.
One thing I'd like to point out on this one is even though you're forced to split your forces as the attacker,
Mm-hmm.
you have enough room to, even though you can't spearhead towards the defender, you can spearhead along your baseline there on the attacker side of the board, and you can shift that 40% to get it on the same side with the 60% if that looks like massing on one of the 2 sides would be useful.
Yeah, I was wondering that.
Yeah.
So you'll have your recon.
That didn't work because my Tigers, if you take a look at this on the right-hand side, let me see, facing him. So I'm looking down here. So on my right, so on the pitcher's left here is where my Tigers set up. The partisans were set up around the objective on that bottom corner of right there, exactly. And so it just made sense to go straight for it. And, what did he roll? A 1 or 2? Came in on my flank. Couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I wonder if I don't have the rules right in front of me, but do you actually have to start 40% of your forces in each of those boxes? Does that mean you're going to put 40, 30, 20% in the middle of the?
At least 40 in each box.
Yeah.
So, but does that mean if you spearhead that you still have to leave 40% behind?
No. I don't think so. If you spearhead, that increases. That's your deployment zone. You spearhead out of your deployment zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But I still would have had to set up 16 inches from that jolt. The
you only have a 4-inch zone there.
actually would have put me further out away from the objective. I mean, yes, I could have gathered all my forces and got in there, but I was thinking, hey, this is a straight crush. Nothing but partisans and no anti-tank weapons. Holy smoke! I'm just going to go in there and crush them. And I had the card roll over them. And so right before I got to them, oh no, guess what just showed up? Su-122s at close range.
I noticed the minefields are different in this mission.
Yes.
Yeah. The 50 points.
And that's what I had between me and him. But he cut off that very side, so I had to kind of tweak in just a little bit, but there was nothing there to stop me, so I just came straight on in. It just didn't work out. Yeah.
Well, your Russian opponent was going, Conrad, we will show him women and children, and he'll come forward. But our Su-100s will show him
Right.
he's been encircled in our trap.
Yeah.
The mist descended on Ed, and he was just seeing red. He didn't.
I was seeing their blood, but it was mine in the long run.
So actually, at what point, Ed, did you verbally go, "Oh no"?
The second he rolled a 5 for his reserves on turn 2.
This mission only shows up in 2 of the 9, cells of the matrix. So you have to have the attacker defender mix on this one to get.
That's right.
Up.
Yeah.
And I was the attacker, and he chose defend.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, Ed, I'm glad you're here to share your story with us. And I don't know about this one. We had some interesting comments about you could spearhead out and then try to join, maybe go after the objective over here. There's some, it's.
You want to hear the rest of this tragic story?
Oh, please.
Oh, you're going to love this. Okay, we did have the objective in the tip of that T right there, the base there. Yeah, right there. And so on the other side, I had my Pioneer Grenadiers charging for it. With that, I had the headquarters Panzer IVs and a platoon of Panzer IVs on either flank of them to take out any reinforcements that he might rush into the area. So I charge into there. And so this is turn 1. So my Tigers are heading straight south to roll over these guys. These guys I thought had an easy target. We're that close. Look how close we were. He had one other thing. He had some Panthers in ambush. And so on turn 1, he just happens to pop them out on the flank of my platoon of Panzer IVs. Takes his 4 shots. Takes his 6 shots. And of those 6 shots, 4 of them hit, and 4 of them killed every one of my Panzer IV. So I no longer had a flanking protection for my Pioneers, and so things weren't looking good. And then turn 2 happens, and and by turn 3, I had no Tigers either, and so things weren't looking good. No.
So was your opponent going, "Comrades, we will use his own weapons against him"?
And he did very effectively.
Yeah.
Here's a good question for this mission. Do you because the attacker places both objectives, but you only get to place 2, and you get that T, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Do you put one forward, or do you put both far back and to the spread them as far as possible?
And my strategy was on this: place 1 on the very end, and then 1 at the closest point at the middle. Okay, this gave my Pioneers a chance to quickly run and get on that objective as close as possible, which they did. But he was dug in, and he stayed on the ground the whole time. And then he had all kind of support and artillery just pounding my poor guys, who eventually did die.
I think it probably depends on a couple of things. Given that the minefields are 1 for every 50 in this game, at 105 points, I would probably not put 1 at the point, because the defender's going to have 3 minefields, and they're certainly going to then put the 3 minefields right in front of it.
Yeah.
If you're playing at 100 points or less, you only have 2 minefields, in which case I might consider putting it up in the front there, because they can't cover as much of a shield there to slow you down.
Yeah, well, I thought he placed his really well, though. He did cut off a part of the board to keep me from going there, and channeled me and channel my Tigers basically into the center. And so that bought him a little bit of time. But if I had run straight down there to begin with, he still had his reinforcements coming in right on my flank anyway. So
Right.
yeah, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, but at least if you're attacking towards the center, you're taking away the risk to your flanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, who's encircling who here?
Wow, isn't that an AC/DC song?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, close to it. Yeah.
Who? Yeah.
Encircling who?
Yeah, I saw that movie recently. Wow. There was a lot of cocaine involved.
So let's do this. We're going to do some final thoughts here. And the people who are watching, get ready with what did you learn today? Because there's a lot of information, and I want to see what you guys learned today. So Well, I'll just go. Well, actually, hold on. Let me hit the.
Start for me because I didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it too late. Sorry, guys. You're gonna have to fill me in later.
No, but you know what? The beautiful thing about this, Ed, it's on the internet. You can watch this anytime. You know, there's a lot of things that happen here, and you can learn something.
The internet,
The interweb.
interweb. Yeah, sound like.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Well, I'll just start go across. Chris.
Well, I think it's given us a lot to think about. I mean, I think it certainly has breathed a lot of new life into the Matrix. I mean, I am happy that in every box now you have 6 distinct possibilities. So especially in a 5 or 6 round tournament, the chances that you're going to play the same mission twice are far less. And this past weekend, out of 27 games played, only 2 of them were free for all, and nobody played Encounter. Now, granted, we were rolling for a lot of people were rolling specifically for the new missions, but I think that will probably begin to hold true as well. So I think it's just introducing a whole lot of diversity into the missions that we're maybe getting a little stale.
Hello. Andrew?
I agree with Chris. I like it because it means that your list building, what used to work, may not work so well right now, and also just the variety. I'm just really looking forward to getting to know these. I mean, I love, I like the old missions, but I mean, how many times can you really play, Encounter or Dust Up?
Yeah, that's true. Tom?
Yeah, I think the jury's out still. I mean, we still have to get a lot more information and experience with these. Determine are they good, are they balanced? But it is at least exciting and fun to be playing. I really enjoyed just going into the last tournament. I'm really looking forward to this weekend too, just to see how things play out. But I'm hoping I hope these all work out. I hope we can find them, and I hope we can get to the point where we're not having draws, because I think we had a lot of draws, but again, new missions, people just totally learning the new thing. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, we had 7 out of 27 draws.
That wasn't too bad.
But many of them were the old missions too.
But I had 2 of them.
Well, yeah,
I did. I had 2 also.
Yeah.
I did too. Yes.
Well, then you guys did.
There's 5 of the 7 draws right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, for me, it was losses. I did really good losing this last tournament. Yeah.
All right.
Bad luck all the way around.
Well, so Ed, what is your final thought is?
Well, I think it almost requires you to have a very good diversified force, because you've got to really be able to be offensive and defensive. And if you go pure one or the other, you're going to have a hard time. Did you guys assess this by chance?
I don't know. I might have heard that earlier.
got that
I don't know.
Yeah. Ed, you're going to have to watch the thing to see. But
At least you're not off, Ed.
On the internet.
the internet, So a couple. What did we learn? And I think with the headphones on, have you heard any of this?
No, not really. I've only heard one side of the conversation.
My side. So have you learned anything from me yapping?
Other than
That you're chased.
actually worse reasons to not have Panzer IVs.
Oh yeah, there's now worse reasons to not have Panzer IVs, right?
No Panzers.
No Panzers.
No Panzers.
Yeah.
Hopeful for them, I've been wanting to play them for a while. This was it. It was going to happen, but it didn't.
So I'll start with this one here. Today I learned I love new missions, that they added new wonderful flavor to the game. And I just wish I lived in an area that I would have the pleasure the ability to play some wonderful people that are on this panel. And it's true. They are wonderful people.
Need to move.
We'd like to move out here too, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on down.
Patrick, I learned today mobility. And Richard, what I learned, mobility is the key to the new missions. and Recon still wins games. That is correct.
I think even more now than ever.
Yep.
Oh, and
And Charlie learned Black Power too. Anyway.
Friday, Charlie. Friday.
Yeah. So the game down for the Team Yankee this weekend at Hard Knocks, they're meeting up Friday night to play Napoleon Black Powder. Big. What you guys doing? Waterloo? What are you guys doing?
he's a scrum. He's just putting a bunch of stuff in there. I
Okay.
think, they could be Bavarians versus Belgians and whatever. So, we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I played Napoleonics. Yeah, playing Napoleonics was back in the day. Was like you get 3 turns, not much happened. Then we used to go across the street to this place called the world famous Apple Pub. It was the local dive bar there in Chicago, and it was the local bar that was across from the game store, and we would go in there. And so you'd have these locals that were like, shooting pool and throwing darts. Meanwhile, they would specifically stock Bass beer for us. And we would be in there going, my guard would have ran you through. And, and they'd talk about what would have happened while drinking Bass. That's what my Napoleonics experience was. Anyway, so yeah, and what color the buttons should be on the lapels.
And meanwhile, the other guys playing pool were saying, "Those geeks are back again talking about Napoleon."
Well, the owner of the bar, which he was like, "I don't understand a word you say, but boy, you guys keep me in business."
And you don't start
You
fighting.
drink my beer.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, and we did. So Patrick's saying is great war stories tonight, guys. Thanks for sharing. We got Charlie saying this is not
Empire.
Yeah, that's true. We were playing. God, what were we playing? This rule set.
Probably Empire. If you only went 3 turns.
Yes, Empire.
Yeah. Notorious for its. Yeah, although if Tom Gall's on, he loves it. Listen here.
Yeah. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts and everything like that. I think
stay and talk to Joe after we wind up.
Yeah, and actually just stay on. We'll do a wrap up. But yeah, guys, thanks. And by the way, everyone else out there, thank you for watching. If you like this, by the way, hit the like button. Hit the little heart button. That actually I found out actually helps with the logarithm to share it more, so that people will see this. Even though I might post it to Flames of War. For some reason, not everyone thinks I sees it, but if you press that like button, maybe more people will see it, and share this content. We're here on Facebook and YouTube and on Twitch. I know Brian Coaches is now being the only guy actually watches live on Twitch, which is hilarious. So and which is amazing because I don't show any cleavage. That's what's all over there on Twitch these days. It's for the youth. You want to play us out?
Sure.
Oh, do the night song.
Well, actually, the what I played coming in, the same guy, he finished up with something else, and it's
a surprise.
So it's
okay.
a surprise. So yeah.
All right. So. Grapes of Robin? Why does it sound like that?
Oh, is it more Monty Python covers, metal covers?
Oh, you weren't able to test it? It's a little staticky. What are they recording on? Like the equivalent of a 52 Buick?
Sounds like they've been smoking too much weed and hanging out at the pub you were talking about.
Yeah.
This is a strategic withdrawal.
Okay. Hey everyone, have a good night, and we'll be catching everyone soon.
All right.